Let me ask you something. When I say the word budgeting, does your jaw clench up a little bit? Maybe you let out a little sigh? Yeah, if you did, you are definitely not alone. For something that's supposed to give us this feeling of control, it usually just feels like a straitjacket, right? We're told it's the key to financial success, but for so many of us, it just ends up being the source of anxiety and guilt. But what if I told you the problem isn't you? What if the problem is the whole process? Well, today we're going to break down a rule that is so simple, so intuitive, it could totally change your relationship with money.
Let's just start by being real. For most people, traditional budgeting just feels broken. You know the drill. You get this huge surge of motivation, you download the newest app, you build this super detailed spreadsheet with 20 different categories, and you promise yourself, this time is going to be different. And then, well, life happens. A couple weeks go by, you've missed a few entries, the spreadsheet is a total mess, and you just kind of quietly give up on the whole thing, feeling like you failed. It is such a frustrating cycle.
I mean, really, let's think about that. On the surface, it should be simple, right? It's just numbers in, numbers out. Basic math. So why does it create so much genuine stress? It's because money is never, ever just about math. It's how we talk about our hopes, our fears, our security, and when the system we use to manage it is way too complicated and rigid, it doesn't just fail at the math part. It actually makes all that emotional stress we feel way, way worse. And hey, if you're feeling that stress, I want you to know you are in the vast majority. This isn't some personal failing. It's a massive shared experience. Get this, a staggering 74% of working Americans say they feel significant stress about their finances. Just think about that for a second. That's almost 3 out of every 4 people you know. This isn't a small thing. It impacts our health, our relationships, everything. It's a huge problem, and it needs a simple solution.
So let's pivot from that heavy problem to a really elegant solution. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. And in a world that is just full of complicated financial advice, this has become one of the most popular and lasting ways to budget for one really simple reason. It actually works for real people with busy lives. It's designed to just cut through all the noise and give you a clear, sustainable path forward.
Okay, let's dive into this. What you're looking at right here, that's the whole system. It is beautiful in its simplicity. The idea is to take your monthly after-tax income, and that's super important. We're talking about the actual money that hits your bank account, and divide it into just 3 easy-to-remember categories. No more tracking dozens of little expenses, just 3 big, intuitive buckets.
First up, the biggest piece of the pie. 50% of your take-home pay goes to your needs. These are the absolute must-pay essentials. Here's the test. If you don't pay for it, your life gets very difficult, very fast. We're talking about your rent or mortgage, your power bill, basic groceries, your car payment or bus pass, and insurance. And this is key. It also includes the minimum required payments on any debts you have. Anything extra you pay goes in another bucket.
Next up, we have the category that honestly makes this whole system work in the long run. 30% for your wants. This is all the stuff that makes life more fun, but isn't, strictly necessary to survive. This bucket is for your Netflix subscription, for dinners out with friends, for your hobbies, for concert tickets, for saving up for that next vacation, the whole shebang. And let's be super clear, this is not the frivolous bucket. It's the human bucket. It's the part of the budget that makes sure you don't just burn out.
And finally, the category that builds your future, 20% for savings and debt repayment. This is maybe the most important bucket for your long-term financial health. This isn't just whatever money is left over. It's a priority. You pay yourself first. This is where you build your emergency fund for when life throws you a curveball. It's where you put money away for retirement. And critically, it's where you make extra payments to kill off high-interest debt and get free from it faster.
So where did this simple idea even come from? Well, it was popularized by U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren and her daughter, Amelia, in their book, All Your Worth. They distilled over 20 years of research into this simple framework. They'd studied thousands of bankruptcies and found this surprising truth. It wasn't lattes that were making families go broke. It was because they were house rich and cash poor. They had overcommitted to huge fixed needs, like mortgages, leaving them with zero flexibility. This rule was literally designed as a guardrail to stop that from happening.
So it looks simple, and we know it's rooted in some serious research. But the real aha moment, the secret sauce that makes the system actually stick when others don't, is when you understand why it works so well. It's not really about the percentages. It's about how the system is designed to work with our human psychology, not fight against it.
At its core, you can think of the 50-30-20 rule as a behavioral hack. See, a lot of traditional budgets fail because they demand perfect, constant self-control, and that just goes against how our brains are wired. They treat us like we're robots.
This rule, on the other hand, is designed to work with our mental habits to our advantage, instead of trying to beat them into submission with willpower.
Okay, so what's really fascinating here is this idea of cognitive load. Think of your brain's decision-making power like a phone battery. Every little decision you make all day drains that battery. A budget with 20 different categories forces you to make dozens of tiny, draining financial decisions every single week. By boiling it down to just 3 categories, this rule drastically lowers that cognitive load. It frees up all that mental energy so you can use it for the big, important choices, instead of wasting it trying to decide if a cup of coffee is groceries or entertainment.
And this right here is the absolute game changer. That 30% wants bucket gives you explicit, pre-approved permission to spend on stuff you enjoy. This is huge. It completely short-circuits that shame cycle that so many budgets create. It's like a restrictive diet. They almost always fail because you deprive yourself, then you binge, then you feel guilty, and then you just quit. It's the same with money. By building joy right into the system, the wants bucket makes the whole plan sustainable. You're not depriving yourself. You're planning for your happiness.
And this really shows the core difference perfectly. On one side, you've got the old way, which almost always leads to what some people call frugality fatigue. It's that burnout you get from constantly telling yourself no. It's just exhausting. But on the other side, the 50-30-20 rule promotes a sustainable lifestyle. It gets that we're humans who need balance, not robots who can just live on the bare minimum. It creates a system that can actually handle the messiness of real life.
Okay, so the theory is solid, but the real power is in actually doing it. So how do you put this to work in your own life? Well, it doesn't require any fancy software or a finance degree. Here is a simple 3-step action plan to get you started, like right now. First, figure out your monthly after-tax income. This is the most important number, the actual amount that hits your bank account. Step 2, put on your detective hat for an hour. Pull up your last 2 or 3 months of bank and credit card statements and label every single transaction. Need, want, or savings. This audit is so important because it gives you a totally honest, no-judgment picture of where your money is actually going. And finally, step 3 is to analyze and adjust. Add up the totals for your 3 buckets and see what your current percentages are. Don't judge yourself, just look at the numbers, and then find some small changes you can make to get closer to your goal.
Now, this next part is super important. The 50-30-20 rule is a fantastic starting point, a really powerful tool to see where you stand. But it is not meant to be a rigid, one-size-fits-all cage. Life is messy. The numbers are supposed to serve you, not the other way around. Think of it as a flexible framework that you get to customize for your own life.
I mean, let's be honest. Hitting those perfect percentages is pretty rare, especially when you're just starting out. If you live in an expensive city, your needs might be way over 50%, and that's not a moral failure, it's just a geographic reality. Or maybe you're trying to aggressively pay off student loans or save for a house, so your savings goal is more like 30 or 40%. The numbers being off isn't a sign you failed. It's just a signal that your budget needs its own unique flavor based on your life right now.
So the key is to just adjust the dials to fit your reality. This table shows a few common ways people do that. The classic 50-30-20 is a great starting point. But hey, maybe the 60-20-20 model is a better fit for you. Here, you're making a conscious trade-off. You shrink your wants bucket to make room for higher housing costs, but you fiercely protect that 20% savings goal. Or, for folks with really high fixed costs like childcare, maybe a 70-10-20 split is what you need for a little while. The point is to find a structure that you can actually stick to.
And as we start to pull this all together, please remember this one essential thing. The true purpose of all this isn't to perfectly hit these numbers every single month. It's to build a habit, the mindset of spending with intention. It's about shifting from that reactive, unconscious spending where your money just seems to vanish to making proactive, conscious choices where you are in the driver's seat.
At the end of the day, the 50-30-20 rule is just a tool. It's like a mirror that shows you your financial life without any judgment. And the real question it helps you answer isn't really about the math, it's about your values. So look at your 3 buckets, the money for living, the money for enjoying life, and the money for your future, and just ask yourself, does this truly reflect what is most important to me? When your spending aligns with your values, that's when you've really fixed your budget. And that is a question worth answering.